I get to walk
gonna be
in
a short
on 2
night for
weeks'
you.
notice. I get to punch him in the face and become world champion at the same time. I am a happy man.
Upsets in mixed martial arts are truly something special. It's one of the things that really hooks people in and makes you a fan of MMA. Everyone loves a good underdog story. To see someone who was never expected to win defy all odds and prove everyone wrong. For this list, we'll be looking at some of the biggest upsets the sport has ever seen. But I'd love to hear some of your guys' favorite upset victories in MMA. So let me know your opinions down in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing. Now in no particular order, here's a list of the biggest upsets in MMA history.
It's time.
This is a fight that was originally not supposed to happen. After Rafael Assunção was pulled from his fight with bantamweight champion Renan Barao due to an injury, and the main event that was supposed to feature Chris Weidman against Lyoto Machida fell through. Renan Barao was promoted to headline UFC 173. The only thing missing was an opponent for Barao, and that's where TJ Dillashaw came in. TJ was already scheduled to take on Takei Mizugaki on the same card, but eagerly accepted the last-minute fight with Barao. Although TJ was a respectable fighter, winning 5 out of his last 7 fights, no one thought he was ready to take on Renan Barao, who at the time was being regarded as the greatest bantamweight in history. Since winning the belt, Barao had already gone on to defend his title 3 times, with 2 of those wins coming against TJ's coach and training partner Uriah Faber. To make the odds worse for TJ, Barao was riding a 32-fight winning streak and hadn't lost a fight since 2005. Once the fight began, the two traded back and forth, but everything changed late in the first round, when TJ dropped Barao with a huge right hand. From there, it was all TJ. For the next 4 rounds, TJ dominated Barao from bell to bell. TJ again dropped Barao in the 5th round, following up with strikes until the ref called it off in favor of TJ. And just like that, TJ Dillashaw shocked the world, pulling off one of the greatest upsets ever seen in the UFC.
The new undisputed UFC bantamweight champion.
The head kick Ronda Rousey sustained during her fight with Holm is a moment all MMA fans both old and new will likely remember. Ronda Rousey was the first female champion in the UFC, and looked unstoppable during her reign as champion, amassing 6 title defenses, with the majority of those fights being stopped in the first round, as Ronda finished off top contenders one by one, and extended her undefeated record to 12-0, it became clear she was running out of challengers. With 2 fights under the UFC banner and an undefeated record of 9-0, Holm earned her shot against Ronda Rousey. With the momentum of Ronda Rousey's impressive title defenses behind her, Rousey came into the fight with Holm as a huge favorite. Tensions grew as the build-up to the fight saw Ronda Rousey fire some heated warnings at Holly, while Holly remained relatively quiet throughout their encounters. Once fight night rolled around, everyone expected Ronda Rousey to do to Holly Holm what she had been doing to everyone over the course of her career. What no one expected was for Holly Holm to go in there and completely outclass Ronda Rousey, which is exactly what happened. For the first round, their difference in skill was stark, as Holly Holm picked Ronda Rousey apart. The next round was even worse, as Holly Holm opened up with a huge head kick that sent Ronda down to the canvas. Some follow-up strikes were landed as the referee stepped in to save Ronda Rousey from any more unnecessary damage. In a matter of seconds, Holly had made history, becoming the 2nd women's bantamweight champion as well as the first woman to defeat Ronda Rousey. Needless to say, Ronda Rousey didn't take the loss well, as she could be seen during an appearance on Ellen months later, discussing her thoughts of suicide due to the result of the fight.
Thinking about killing myself in that exact second, I'm like, I'm nothing. I'm like, what do I do anymore? I don't feel bad for her at all.
Yeah, all right. Well, listen.
As UFC 217 approached, Joanne Jędrzejczyk looked to make history and tie Ronda Rousey for the most title defenses in women's history. With 5 consecutive title defenses already under her belt, Rose Namajunas was the only thing standing in her way from achieving that goal. Heading into the fight, Joanne was as confident as ever. She even ramped up the amount of trash talk she usually gives her opponents for Namajunas, who remained calm and collected through it all. Since her days on The Ultimate Fighter, Rose Namajunas had made drastic improvements as a fighter, but many were still overlooking her, and gave her little chance of winning against arguably the best striker in the strawweight division. Rose made the most of her opportunity, dropping Joanne early. Rose ended up dropping Joanne multiple times, before finally following up and battering her with ground and pound, until Joanne finally tapped due to the strikes. Not only had Rose defeated Joanne, she had made her quit inside the octagon. It was a surreal and incredible upset victory for Rose. Rose Namajunas and Joanne did run it back a few months later at UFC 223, but Rose once again proved the first fight wasn't a fluke, winning the fight by decision.
This is my dream. Nobody was taking this away from me.
While rematches never guarantee a different result, MMA has proven time and time again to expect the unexpected. Michael Bisping and Luke Rockhold first competed in 2014, with Rockhold defeating Michael Bisping via submission. Fast forward 2 years later, Rockhold would go on to seize the middleweight title from Chris Weidman, with his first title defense expected to be a rematch against the former champion. However, after it was reported that Weidman was pulled from the fight due to an injury, Michael Bisping got the call in just 17 days' notice to face Rockhold for the middleweight belt. With the two having a history, there was no shortage of bad blood or trash talk between them. Despite Bisping being on a 3-fight win streak, with a win over the all-time great Anderson Silva, most expected to see a repeat of their first fight. Everyone knew Luke Rockhold had the tools to defeat Bisping, but Luke also had a few holes in his game, with one of them being his tendency to drop his hands during a fight. Bisping caught him doing precisely that, stunning Rockhold with a huge left hand. Having him badly hurt, Bisping came forward and dropped Rockhold again with another left. As Rockhold laid against the cage, Bisping delivered the fight-ending combination with a little over a minute left in the first round. An ecstatic Michael Bisping walked away with a huge upset victory as well as UFC gold, which he had been chasing his entire career. It was an incredible win for Michael Bisping. Before BJ Penn moved up a weight class to challenge Matt Hughes for the welterweight title, he had already made a name for himself down in the lightweight division. However, after a controversial draw over fellow lightweight Carl Uno in a tournament to determine the next lightweight champion, the UFC temporarily disbanded the weight class altogether. Forced to move up in weight, BJ Penn made his welterweight debut against reigning champion Matt Hughes. After winning the title back in 2001, he had defended his title a record-breaking 5 times. His numerous title defenses along with his 13-fight winning streak gave Hughes a massive advantage in the eyes of fans. As accomplished as BJ Penn was in the lower weight class, his success didn't seem to be enough to overcome the well-rounded Hughes heading into the fight. Not only was BJ Penn able to compete with Hughes, he ran through him with ease. The fight made its way to the ground and Hughes worked off his back, but Penn was able to switch positions and stay on top of Hughes for the majority of the round. Hughes attempted to roll on his side, but BJ Penn took his back and worked towards securing a rear naked choke. Hughes tapped with less than 30 seconds left on the clock. The crowd went wild as BJ Penn pulled off perhaps the biggest upset in the UFC at that time, becoming the new UFC welterweight champion. After winning Season 4 of The Ultimate Fighter, Matt Serra earned himself a $100,000 UFC contract as well as a title shot against welterweight champion Georges St-Pierre. Georges St-Pierre, who had solidified himself as one of the best in the welterweight division, came into the fight with Serra as a massive favorite. Serra and Georges St-Pierre were on two completely different levels in the eyes of fans, and no one gave Matt Serra any chance of winning against GSP. What happened at UFC 69 would go on to be one of the greatest upsets in UFC history. Not only did Matt Serra beat Georges St-Pierre, he dominated him. Matt Serra caught GSP early on with a hard shot that hurt him badly. Keeping the pressure on, Matt Serra came after GSP and sent him down to the ground, following up with some nasty ground and pound until the ref finally stepped in. In an unbelievable moment, Matt Serra had beat all odds and defeated arguably the greatest welterweight of all time to become the new welterweight champion.
Mission failed. We'll get him next time.
Despite GSP exacting his revenge on Serra in the rematch, Serra's win is still cemented in history. Despite their rare occurrence, cross-promotional events have been around in MMA for quite some time. In 2010, Strikeforce and M1 Global put together an event headlined by two of their heavyweight stars, Fabricio Werdum and Fedor Emelianenko. Before their appearance in Strikeforce, both men had competed in Pride and fought a number of notable heavyweights. While Werdum had found some mixed success during his career, Fedor was considered one of the greatest heavyweights at that time, riding a 27-fight win streak. Because of this, oddsmakers backed Fedor Emelianenko as the heavy favorite coming to the fight against Werdum. Once the fight began, it looked like Fedor was going to close the show early, dropping Werdum to the mat with his first combination. Fedor eagerly followed Werdum to the ground. Werdum, being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, managed to lock in a slick armbar as Fedor left one of his arms extended. Although Fedor briefly fought off the submission, he was eventually forced to tap out. Fabricio Werdum walked away stunned, as he had pulled off one of the biggest upsets in MMA history. For the first time in a decade, Fedor had lost. To this day, MMA has yet to see someone as successful with head kick knockouts as Mirko Cro Cop. In the early days of MMA, Mirko Cro Cop became famous for his signature head kick KOs, with some of his most notable victories coming against the likes of Vanderlei Silva and Alexander Emelianenko. As Cro Cop's time in Pride came to an end and he signed with the UFC, he made an impressive first impression when he knocked out Eddie Sanchez in his UFC debut. Following his debut, it was announced that his next opponent would be Gabriel Gonzaga. Although Gonzaga already held 3 victories inside the UFC and a respectable record of 7-1, the names he defeated did not hold the same weight as that of Mirko Cro Cop's, so many were left wondering how Gonzaga would fare against a truly elite fighter. For those who knew of Cro Cop's success and pride, many were expecting him to run through Gonzaga with ease. The fight was competitive up until about 9 seconds left in the first round, when Gabriel Gonzaga sent Cro Cop down with the same kick that Cro Cop had made a career out of.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
In an instant, Cro Cop was out and Gabriel Gonzaga was left celebrating over the biggest win of his career. In the words of Joe Rogan, he Cro Copped Cro Cop. Cro Cop did manage to earn his revenge several years later, but Gonzaga's highlight reel win will always be remembered as one of the biggest upsets in MMA history. Conor McGregor's goal of becoming a 2-division champion hit a roadblock in 2016. After defeating former champion Jose Aldo in 13 seconds to claim the featherweight title, he set his sights on then lightweight champion Rafael dos Anjos. They were scheduled to compete at UFC 196, but the fight was never materialized after dos Anjos suffered a foot injury and was pulled days before the event. With the UFC scrambling to find a replacement opponent for Conor, they ended up choosing Nate Diaz to come in on 11 days' notice to take on McGregor. Despite being a short notice fight, the build-up to the fight included some of the most entertaining pre-fight trash talk in UFC history. Still, with a full training camp behind Conor McGregor as well as a massive wave of momentum coming from his win over Jose Aldo, McGregor was for the most part fully expected to beat Nate Diaz. While round 1 undoubtedly belonged to Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz turned up the pressure in round 2, hurting Conor with a combination. Conor went into desperation mode and shot in on Diaz for a takedown. Nate Diaz mounted Conor and began punching him from top position. As Conor tried to move away, he ended up giving up his back, and Nate Diaz sunk in a rear naked choke. In a matter of moments, McGregor was forced to tap and Nate Diaz walked away with a stunning victory. The two put on an all-time classic in their rematch, but their first encounter will remain a defining moment in MMA history.
I was simply inefficient with my energy.
Leading up to this fight, there was general consensus among MMA fans that Anderson Silva was the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. Since going on to win the title in a knockout victory over Rich Franklin, Anderson Silva went on to defend his title 10 consecutive times, stopping several opponents along the way with highlight reel finishes. As Silva continued to dispatch top middleweights, the hunt for new contenders was becoming a problem. Meanwhile, Chris Weidman, who was an undefeated All-American wrestler, quickly rose to the middleweight ranks. With his impressive knockout over Mark Munoz, Weidman finally earned his title shot at Silva. Although some believe Weidman's wrestling background would be enough to overcome Silva, Silva's incredible dominance over the years easily made him the betting favorite coming into the fight. As the fight progressed, Silva started to put his hands down and began taunting Weidman to come forward, leaving his chin completely exposed. Weidman obliged and threw several shots in Silva's direction, with one of those tagging Silva right on the chin. The strike sent Silva straight down to the canvas, and just like that, Weidman was the new champion of the middleweight division. A rematch took place at UFC 168, but resulted in Silva's legs snapping after Weidman checked a kick from Silva. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know by leaving a like and subscribing. And if you guys think I missed anything, just let me know down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.
Go away! Read some books!
You never have a doubt, do you like me now? Am I good enough now? Should I get more loud to get hear the fucking sound? Oh no, I'm losing my shit again, having to fit again. Man, I'm forgetting when I used to have some friends. I used to play pretend, we all grow up and then hating my phone and trends. I'm about to blow my head, nobody knows I'm dead. Fear I'm a ghost instead, think that I'm close, I get straight comatose in bed. Try to go slow with breath, breathe out my nose and head. Heart doesn't go the trend, faster it goes.